Well, if you'd asked me, I guess I always knew growing up here in Missouri I was destined to be a farmer. A 3D printing farmer. Hey everyone, welcome back to Nick Snacks 3D. If you're new here, hello. I'm Nick and I run a modest 3D print farm where I make cosplay props, miniatures, and a bunch of other cool stuff. Today, I'm taking you through a full day in the print farm, how I manage production, prep and finish prints, and of course, deal with the occasional failure. Let's get into it. Like any good farmer, my day starts with coffee. My printers are always running, so the first thing I want to do is check on what may have finished overnight. In fact, it might be an interesting exercise to see whether my coffee budget or filament budget are more outrageous. Eh, maybe not. Anyway, every morning I'm greeted with the sweet whir of my printers going. The best or worst part is seeing if everything came out clean. And if not, well, we'll get to that. I run a mix of Bamboo Lab and Creality printers. The Bamboo X1C is my workhorse. The K1 Max and two K2 Pluses handle the big jobs, and my P1S and A1 are great for batch printing. For the occasional giant print, I've also got an Anycubic Cobra 2 Max. Keeping everything running smoothly is really the key to staying productive. Some prints take an hour, some take 10, some take 48. The goal, keep everything moving. And if I'm honest, that's a bit of a stressor because it can be tough to keep quote unquote normal business hours. My office is downstairs, so I am frequently up and down those from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to sleep. But the more automation I can build into my setup, the better. Multicolor prints, batch jobs, I really try to minimize downtime as much as possible. And that's really where the larger printers have come in so handy. With printers like the K2 Plus and the Cobra 2 Max, I'm often able to fit entire jobs on a single build plate. Yeah, that usually means a long runtime, but it frees up my other printers to do at least two smaller jobs, if not more, during that time. All day long, prints come off, more go on, no wasted time. There's probably a nursery rhyme in there somewhere. This is also where equipping most of my printers with BQ Frostbite and Glacier cool plates make life so much easier. No more worrying about adhesion issues in the middle of a long print or in the middle of the night. If you missed my recent review on these, well, I'll figure out how to do one of those picture in picture things where you can hop over to it and check it out. All told, it usually takes me an hour or so to get all the printers switched out in the morning. At this point, I've got prints running. Now, while they do their thing, I move on to finishing work. Most days, if I'm honest, this is my least favorite part. Glue gets everywhere. There are prints with a million different parts, and it just consumes a ton of time usually. But magnets are a game changer for wearable props. A little glue, a little patience, and suddenly you've got something that looks really fantastic with minimal effort. Now, after assembly of all my FDM jobs, it's time for the real mess. No, like literally, resin printing is a mess. But alas, this is the price we pay for small but detailed little props and minis. Now, if I can fit something in for myself, I always try to do so, like this cute little Owlin mini that I'll be using during my upcoming D&D session. Actually, brief aside, because I think that's really important. I got into 3D printing with a single printer, the Ender 3 V3 SE. And I did so because I wanted to make my own Batman props. But things can snowball on you really quickly, and it's important to really find that balance and to continue to find time to print the things that you love. Because if not, that novelty of the hobby fades. And I've read too many stories of people who get into and out of 3D printing because they just lose the love for it once they start selling. Don't do that. Print the things you love. Okay, back to it. Resin stuff is a mess, but my Haygear's Ultracraft Reflex RS at least alleviates a lot of the frustration that can come with resin failures. Notice I said a lot, but not all. In fact, this morning I walked into a failure on it. But Normally, this thing is a champ, and I can't wait to bring you all a review of it in the near future. I also love their little ecosystem that they've got going on. I can go straight from the printer to the wash station to the cure station, and then it's time for paint. Well, priming first, and then sanding, and maybe filling, and sanding, and priming and sanding, and elbow grease, and then paint. Now, we're just coming out of winter here in the Midwest, and when you're selling hand painted items, it can get really tricky during those colder months to keep to established lead times. To combat this, I've set up a grow tent in my garage, an idea that I got from another incredible 3D printing YouTuber called Saturday Morning Props. And it's equipped with an AC infinity heater that vents in hot air. And that means that even on the coldest of days, this is able to get me to that magical 55-degree temp where I can avoid surface imperfections and extra long dry times. All right, moving on into what is usually the afternoon at this point. Printing is only half the battle. Everything I make has to be cleaned up, quality inspected, packed, and shipped out. Unlike assembly, there is something slightly cathartic about the packing part. Turn on some jams, and I get to work. It's a constant cycle. Print, finish, pack, repeat. You're peaceful, and then you're interrupted by something like this. You gotta love when a long print fails, but that's the reality of the day to day in this gig. Maintenance is also a huge part of keeping a print farm running. Sometimes it feels like I am fixing more than I am printing. Keeping printers running, restocking filament, upgrading parts, it all adds up. And people always ask me what it really costs to run a print farm, and the answer might surprise you. So in an upcoming video, I'll break down the real costs of running a 3D print farm. If you're thinking about starting one yourself, you'll want to tune into that. If you're into 3D printing, cosplay props, or just watching printers do their thing, hit that like button and subscribe. More content coming soon. Until then, happy printing, y'all.